10 years ago, June 2016, two people each put exactly $10,000 into a brand new brokerage account. Investor A bought VOO, the Vanguard S&P 500 fund, the one everyone tells you to buy. Investor B bought a four-letter ticker most people watching this have never even said out loud. Fast forward to today, Investor A's $10,000 is worth around $41,000. Solid. Exactly what you'd expect from the S&P 500. Investor B's $10,000 is worth over $231,000. Same 10 years, same starting amount, zero extra contributions. No options, no leverage, no lucky meme stock pick, just a different ticker. I'm going to show you exactly what that ticker is in a few minutes, along with 3 others like it. But here's the part almost nobody talks about, and it's the part that actually matters more than the ticker symbol. I'll explain why in a second. Here's the thing. Most people hear a stat like that and think the goal is to find the next big thing, hunt for some hidden gem before it explodes. That's not what this is. You don't need to double the market's return to retire meaningfully faster. You don't need crazy risk, options, or perfect timing. You need one unglamorous thing, a little bit more, consistently for a long time. That's genuinely it. And the reason that little bit more is worth so much more than people assume is exactly what I want to show you. Because once you see the math, you can't unsee it. So here's what we're doing today. I'm walking you through 4 ETFs that have historically outperformed the S&P 500. What each one actually owns, why it's grown faster, who it's genuinely right for, and the honest risk you're taking on if you buy it. This isn't about replacing your S&P 500 position. It's a small, deliberate tilt on top of the foundation you probably already have. Same effort as clicking buy on VOO, but stretched across 20 or 30 years, that tilt can be the difference between retiring at 65 and walking away a decade early. Quick disclaimer before we go further. I'm not a financial advisor, this isn't personalized financial advice, and past performance never guarantees future results. Do your own research. Okay, let's get into why this actually matters. Most people think the gap between a 10% and 13% return is small, just 3 points. And over 1 year on $10,000, that's about $300. Not exciting. But investing isn't a 1-year game. It's a 20, 30, 40-year game. And small annual differences compound into enormous outcomes. $10,000 invested once, never touched again, at 10% annually, the long-run S&P 500 average becomes roughly $174,000 after 30 years. At 13% annually, that same $10,000 becomes roughly $391,000. At 15% annually, it becomes roughly $662,000. Read that again. Going from 10% to 15% isn't double the money. It's nearly 4 times the money. Now, stretch that further. And this is the part that actually surprised me when I ran the numbers properly. Instead of one lump sum, imagine investing $500 a month for 30 years. At 10%, you end up with about $1.13 million. At 13%, about $2.19 million. At 15%, about $3.46 million. That gap, 10% versus 15%, is over $2.3 million on the exact same $500. That's not a rounding error. That's the difference between working until 65 and walking away a decade early. Now, before I show you the 4 ETFs, one thing needs to be crystal clear. None of these replace VOO or VTI. The S&P 500 is still the core, the engine, the foundation. These are tilts, deliberate overweights toward corners of the market that have historically grown faster. If you don't have a core position yet, build that first. ETF 1, VOOG. The Vanguard S&P 500 Growth ETF. Expense ratio, 0.07%. Think of the S&P 500 as 500 companies split into 2 camps. Growth companies reinvesting aggressively to expand fast, and value companies that are slower, steadier, more established. VOOG keeps only the growth half. Its top holdings right now are Nvidia, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Apple. Over the last decade, it's compounded roughly 16 to 18% annually, ahead of the S&P 500's roughly 14%. The trade-off: growth stocks get sold first when investors panic, so VOOG will drop harder than VOO in a bad year. This is best suited for someone with a genuinely long horizon, 15 years or more, who can sit through the dips without flinching. Second, QQQ, the Invesco NASDAQ 100 ETF. Expense ratio 0.18%, recently trimmed down from 0.20%. You've heard of this one. It tracks the 100 largest non-financial companies on the NASDAQ. Heavy concentration in Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, and Broadcom. Over the last 10 years, QQQ has compounded at roughly 19% annually, versus roughly 14% for the S&P 500 over that same stretch. Here's the honest part. In 2022, when tech got crushed, the NASDAQ 100 fell about 33% versus roughly 18% for the S&P 500, almost twice as hard. In 2023, it also came back roughly twice as fast, up about 56% versus the S&P 500's 26%. Higher highs, lower lows. This is for someone with a 15 to 20-year horizon and a genuine conviction that technology keeps driving the economy for the next couple of decades and won't panic sell during the drawdowns. If you're buying and holding for the long run rather than trading, QQQM is the same fund at a lower cost, around 0.15%. Third, one you probably haven't heard of, SPMO, the Invesco S&P 500 Momentum ETF. Expense ratio 0.13%. This one's different. Instead of holding all 500 S&P companies, it holds roughly the 100 with the strongest recent price momentum, stocks that are already moving up, rebalancing regularly to rotate into new leaders. Since launching in October 2015, it's compounded at somewhere around 19 to 21% annually, comfortably ahead of the S&P 500. Now, you might be thinking, isn't chasing what's already gone up just chasing hype? Fair question. The honest answer is that this strategy has still had real pain along the way. Its worst drawdown since inception is right around 31%, so it's not immune to sharp pullbacks. It just hasn't necessarily fallen hardest in every single down year. The constant rebalancing also creates more taxable events, so SPMO is best held inside a Roth IRA or 401k rather than a regular taxable account. Fourth, and the most aggressive fund on this list, SMH, the SMH Semiconductor ETF. Expense ratio 0.35%. This is our opening example. SMH holds the companies that design and manufacture chips: Nvidia, TSMC, Broadcom, ASML, and AMD. Over the last decade, it's compounded at roughly 37 to 38% annually. That's the fund that turned $10,000 into over $231,000, while VOO turned that same $10,000 into about $41,000. Here's where it gets really interesting, and also where the risk lives. This is a single sector bet. In 2022, SMH dropped about 33.5% in 1 year. In 2023, it came roaring back up about 73%. When semiconductors are in favor, nothing on this list moves faster. When they're not, almost nothing drops harder either. This fund is for someone with a 15 to 20-year horizon and a genuine conviction that AI, data centers, and global chip demand keep growing and won't panic sell during a drawdown of 30 to 40%. Every fund on this list has beaten the S&P 500 historically. Every single one also carries more risk than the S&P 500. Those two facts aren't a coincidence. They're the same fact. Higher return and higher risk are not separable. You cannot rent one without the other. The S&P 500 isn't boring because it's underperforming. It's the foundation because spreading your money across 500 companies means no single sector or trend can take your whole portfolio down with it. VOOG concentrates in growth. QQQ concentrates in tech. SPMO concentrates in momentum. SMH concentrates in one industry. Concentration amplifies your wins when you're right, and it amplifies your losses when you're wrong. The responsible way to use any of these is as an addition to your S&P 500 core, sized so a 30 to 40% drawdown wouldn't make you sell. If a drop like that would push you to panic sell, these funds will cost you more than they'll ever earn you. VOO or VTI is still the foundation. Low fees, broad diversification, decades of consistent contributions. That works, and it has always worked. But if you want to tilt part of your portfolio toward areas of the market that have historically grown faster, you now know 4 ways to do that without abandoning the principles that actually build wealth. Pick one. Understand what you actually own. Size it small next to your core position. Stay invested through the volatility and give it time.